everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking into the life of Mulu.
Mulu?
Yeah, and she is a Kurdish woman from Turkey.
Okay.
And I think her story is really interesting. It's about way more than just music, though.
Okay.
We only have one source for this dive, and it's a blog post called A Kurdish Woman's Journey, Music, Tragedy, and Unbreakable Resilience. But it's a really powerful blog post. So.
Oh, I bet. It sounds like it covers a lot.
It does. It does. And it kind of starts with her upbringing in Diyarbakır, Turkey. And she comes from a really big family, 8 siblings, and music was just a part of their everyday life.
Wow.
But it was more than just, a fun family sing-along.
Right.
Her mother had actually been married pretty young herself.
Okay.
But really encouraged and supported Muglu and all of her siblings, actually, to pursue their passions.
Yeah. Interesting. Because that's not always common in every culture.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think especially, in a culture where women's paths are often more predetermined, it seems like that support was really crucial to her development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that parental support can really make a huge difference in a person's life.
And she really saw music as more than just a hobby.
Uh-huh.
It was deeply personal to her.
Okay.
There's this quote from her in the blog post that I just love. It says, "My voice will be heard to our Lord."
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. It almost gives you chills just reading it.
It does. It makes you think about how music can be almost spiritual for some people.
Yeah, and I think she really embodies that. That passion fueled her dedication. She even went to a fine arts high school.
Wow.
Which is amazing. And that's where she starts getting recognition for her talent.
Okay.
And she eventually ends up on this TV show. It was kind of like Turkey's Got Talent.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So things are looking up for her.
Yeah.
But that's when the blog post introduces this guy, Edom.
Edom. Okay.
And he was from her past.
Okay, so someone she knew.
Yeah. And he was kind of an admirer at first, but quickly he became this really obsessive figure in her life.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah, and his words are actually quoted in the blog post.
Okay.
And they're really chilling.
Yeah.
He said, "You're either mine or dead."
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so it just makes you wonder, at what point did admiration become so dangerous?
Right, like when did it cross that line?
Yeah, and the blog post doesn't really go into the psychology behind his obsession.
Okay.
But it does raise important questions about societal norms and how they can sometimes enable this kind of behavior.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because sometimes certain behaviors are, almost encouraged or looked over in certain cultures or societies.
Right, and despite this threat looming over her, Maku still continued to pursue her music. She was performing on television.
Wow.
Imagine the courage that must have taken.
Yeah, with that in the back of her mind.
Right, knowing this person was out there and fixated on her.
Yeah, I wonder if she really understood the danger she was in.
That's a good point. The blog post doesn't really say. And sadly, his words weren't just threats.
Oh, no.
The blog post goes on to detail the night that he attacked her, and he left her critically injured.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It makes you think that, the blog post could have focused on, the attack itself.
Right.
But instead it focuses on what happened after.
Yeah.
Which is really where we see her resilience.
Yeah. I think that was a really good choice by the author.
Absolutely.
Because the blog post mentions she was in a coma for months.
Oh, wow.
And her mother actually had to care for her as if she were a baby again.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking to think about what they went through.
It is.
But beyond the physical recovery, there's also this emotional and artistic journey that she had to go through.
Right. How did this experience affect her music?
Exactly.
Did her message change?
Yeah. Did it deepen her connection to her art, or did it make her question everything?
Yeah.
I'd be so curious to know.
We'll get into those questions right after this. The blog post mentions that music became this source of healing for her during her recovery. And it makes me think about, other artists who've used their art to deal with trauma.
Right.
Like Frida Kahlo, for example. Their art, it wasn't just an escape.
Right.
It was like a way to confront and transform that pain.
That's a really powerful connection. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
And the blog post, it doesn't go too deep into the specifics of how her music changed after the attack.
Right.
But it does highlight how determined she was to get back on stage.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes.
It does, because it wasn't just about, performing again.
Right.
It was about taking back her voice, her agency after someone tried to silence her.
Yeah, both literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
There's this real sense of defiance there.
Absolutely.
Like she's saying, You tried to break me, but I'm coming back stronger.
Yeah.
And not just for herself, but for other women who are facing similar struggles.
And that's where I think the blog post gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it connects her own journey to a bigger message about advocating for women's rights.
Yeah, she wasn't content to just be a survivor.
Right, exactly.
She wanted to make a difference.
Wonder what it was like for her to get back into the spotlight.
Oh, I bet that was hard. Was there fear?
Yeah. Was there a sense of, like, responsibility now?
Right. The blog post doesn't really go into those emotions, but that must have been so complex.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm also curious about how the Kurdish community reacted to her.
Right. Did they embrace her?
Yeah, like as a symbol of resilience.
Or was there some pushback?
Yeah, like were people uncomfortable with her speaking out?
Challenging those cultural norms. And those are questions that the blog post unfortunately leaves unanswered.
Yeah.
But it does highlight, how important it is to challenge those norms, especially in places where violence against women is often silenced or even just accepted.
Yeah, you're right. Her story is a powerful example of how just one person can start a conversation and challenge the status quo.
And her platform, amplified by her talent and her visibility.
It's exactly.
That makes her message even more powerful.
It does. It's not just about singing anymore.
Right.
It's about using her art to shine a light on this bigger issue.
Yeah, to inspire other women to find their own voices.
Exactly.
It reminds me of Malala Yousafzai.
Oh, yeah.
Another courageous woman who turned her experience into a global movement.
Right, and she faced unimaginable violence, too.
Exactly.
That's a really good comparison.
They both show how personal trauma can be a catalyst for social change.
Right. How individual stories can connect with these universal truths.
Yeah.
And spark a desire for justice.
Their stories are deeply personal.
They are.
But they become something much bigger.
Absolutely. They make us confront uncomfortable truths about our societies. They make us question our own roles.
Yeah. Right. Are we perpetuating these harmful norms?
Yeah. Or are we challenging them?
And they remind us that change is possible.
It is. But it takes courage and resilience.
Yeah. And a willingness to speak out.
Exactly. Even when it's hard or dangerous.
McClue's story, as we're seeing it through this blog post, it's just a small glimpse into a much bigger picture.
It is.
It's a starting point for more conversations, for more exploration.
I agree. It makes you want to keep learning.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it's not really an ending point.
No.
It's a jumping off point.
It's like we've been given a key that unlocks a door to a whole new world of understanding.
Exactly. And it's up to us as listeners to step through that door.
Yeah.
To keep learning.
Right. To challenge ourselves to think critically about these really complex issues.
I agree.
Wow. It's been quite a journey learning about McClue.
It really has.
From, a young girl with this passion for music to a woman using her platform to advocate for change.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions for sure.
I think her story really shows both the fragility and the incredible resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder of just the darkness that exists in the world, but also a testament to, the power of hope and healing and the courage to speak out against injustice.
What really strikes me is this blog post, while it's incredibly moving, it only gives us a glimpse of her life.
It does.
It leaves me wanting to know more, like what happened after she went back on stage.
Yeah.
What specific changes did she fight for?
Right. Did her advocacy work have an impact?
Yeah, what kind of impact did her voice have on the Kurdish community and beyond?
I think that's both the beauty and the limitation of using just one source for a deep dive like this. It sparks our curiosity. It makes us want to learn more.
Right.
It's like an invitation to keep the conversation going.
It is, too.
Really dig deeper into the cultural context.
Yep.
The nuances of her advocacy work. The ripple effects of her story.
It makes you realize that this deep dive isn't an ending point.
Yeah.
It's more like a jumping off point.
Exactly. We've been given this key that unlocks a door to a whole new world of understanding.
And it's up to us as listeners to, step through that door.
Absolutely.
To keep learning, to challenge ourselves, to really think critically about these issues.
I agree with you.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What can we as individuals do to make a difference in a world where these stories are all too common?
I think the first step is awareness.
Okay.
Listening to stories like Muglu's educating ourselves about the realities of violence against women, understanding, the cultural and societal factors that contribute to these problems. That's crucial.
Okay, so beyond awareness.
Yeah.
What about action?
Okay, sure.
What are some steps we can take to support women like Muglu to advocate for change?
Well, I think a great place to start is by supporting organizations that work to empower women.
Yeah.
That promote gender equality, that combat violence. And, even having conversations with friends and family.
Yeah.
Challenging those harmful stereotypes and attitudes.
Right.
Speaking up against injustice when we see it. These are all small but meaningful actions we can take.
It's about recognizing that these issues, they aren't just women's issues, they're human rights issues.
They are.
That affect all of us.
Exactly.
And by working together, by amplifying the voices of those who are silenced,
absolutely,
we can create a more just and equitable world.
I agree with you.
For everyone.
This deep dive into Muglu's story has been a powerful reminder of that interconnectedness, of the strength that comes from shared experiences and taking action together.
It's a call to listen, to learn, and to use our own voices to make positive change.
Absolutely.
It's been an honor to explore this story with you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's inspired you to keep learning.
Yes. Keep the conversation going.
To seek out more stories and to find your own ways to make a difference in the world.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks for listening.